What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Sergeant Moose here, back with another Evil Dead the Game video, and today, guys, I want to talk a little bit about Mia Allen. Guys, it's been a little while since I've done a build video with Mia. I haven't done a P5 build video with Mia yet, but without further ado, we're going to jump into it. We're going to share our P5 Mia build. I've had a lot of folks asking me about it and how to maximize damage with Mia. So with that said, let's jump into it. Let's break this thing down. Alright guys, first and foremost, I just want to mention that damage is not everything in this game. I know most of you know that, however, the meta is balance bar. Being equipped, having your team equipped for balance bar on the book phase, that is the current meta in this game. You do not need to output a ton of damage to be able to win games. However, if you're like me, you like to challenge yourself, and this is how you have fun with the game, and you want to see how much damage you can do, this is the build for you. So, without further ado, guys, let's talk a little bit about Mia's perks. I know you all know what they are. Her Uncontrollable. Now, because we are prestiged out, her Uncontrollable does a 25% extra melee damage instead of 20. This is, of course, her ability. When you pop it, you get that base 25% melee damage. And before we go any further, guys, I want to say that this build definitely works if you're not prestiged at all on her as well. We'll go through the skill points and tell you the 5 that I would take off if you're not prestige, because you're going to have 5 less skill points to work with. But we'll get into that. But we talk about Uncontrollable. Obviously, we all know what this is. It increases your fear to max, and you do a 25% melee damage increase, 20% if you're not prestiged. So we come down here to Fear Leads to Anger. This is the other prestige. Now, this is where Mia can get a little bit questionable in terms of how deadly she can be to her teammates and things like that. You do have to be careful with Mia. She is a unique survivor. You guys know that. But to maximize her damage, obviously, you're going to have to tamper with high fear. You're going to have to take a little bit of gamble here and there. But as you guys can see here with the Prestige, she's maximum damage 45. I can't remember which one of these were Prestige 1 and which one was Prestige 5, but either way, to get these extra 5s on both, you have to be prestige somewhere. But, yeah, 45% maximum damage there with Fear Leads to Anger. So, essentially, if you have your fear shot up to max, you're fighting against some deadites, you pop your Uncontrollable, with max fear, you're going to get a total of 70% extra damage, which is absolutely ridiculous. And this is why Mia, in my opinion, is the best damage outputting warrior in the game, even better than Scotty. And again, down here, guys, Blood Rain. This is everything. This is everything into this build. This build utilizes Blood Rain as much as humanly possible. So that gives us 10% bleed damage on everything that we hit with a heavy hit, and the duration lasts for 5 seconds. So if you're hitting them bosses or them possessed units, they're very low health. You get that big heavy attacking on them, you see them die a couple seconds later, that is going to be your bleed damage. So, we come over here, last word, guys. Again, if you want to do damage, very, very essential. We got it maxed out to 50, so every last hit, that 4th combo, is going to do a 50% extra damage than what it normally would. Coming on down to Artful Dodger. Now, we went 3 in Artful Dodger because this build is very squishy, guys. You're going to have to be careful with her. You're not going to be able to run in like Henry the Red with full max shields and invincibility with her. You're going to have to know when to get in and out of battle. And I do want to clarify, it does help to have a half-competent support on your team with you guys to kind of keep you in battle, keep you healed up, things like that. Because she is kind of a glass cannon. She's not extremely squishy, but she's kind of squishy. She's definitely one of the squishier warriors. Coming over here, this is where it helps out a little bit. We've maxed out Industrial Strength at 25%. We got the full Industrial Strength going on her. Coming down to Devastating Force, we have increased melee weapon damage for 15% over there. She's a warrior. I mean, I go that on every warrior. Some people may not use Devastating Force on some of their warriors. That's all cool and good, but I want that 15% extra melee, because I'm going to be melee and everything. Coming on down. I didn't go with any Dismemberment, guys, because honestly, Dismemberment is way too RNG for me to waste skill points into. I've tested it many a times. I've maxed both of them out. Tested it. I didn't notice any kind of difference with Dismemberment. Yes, you'll get some here and there, but not really enough. Not really enough to spend 5 spirit points in. So coming on down to Balance Bar again, that is the meta in this game. We have Seeing Stars 1 of 3, we have Blunt Force Trauma. Don't worry, we're going to be getting into more Balance Bar, guys. Seeing Stars 1 of 3, Blunt Force Trauma 5, because we're going to be focusing more on sharp weapons with Mia. However, if you get a good heavy sledgehammer, something like that, you're definitely going to want to use it with her. Coming over here, guys, to Heavy Hitter. Now this is where I want to have a little bit of a discussion. We have all 3 maxed out on heavy melee attacks. So this is obviously, this can go for one-handed or two-handed Heavy Hitter. Now, when you look at Mia Allen, she was introduced into this game as pretty much a one-handed warrior, considering she has the one-handed machete mastery, right? So, people are going to have the tendency to spec into one-handed builds with Mia, and that is totally okay. I've used the machete with her, I've used the hand axe, the knife. You can do tons of damage and be very effective with one-handed weapons, but I want to explain why we don't do that build. For one thing, guys, why I want to mention why I don't do a one-handed build and I go with a two-handed build with Mia, even though she has a one-handed weapon mastery, is because, first things first, with two-handed weapons, they tend to have a wider range. They're longer weapons, obviously, okay? So, in my opinion, after testing both from both sides, I feel like two-handed weapons are more susceptible to hitting more enemies at once with one swing, hence doing more damage, multiplying that damage across multiple enemies, whereas a one-handed weapon has a shorter swing speed and seems to be a little bit more single target focused than a two-handed weapon. Now, two-handed weapons considerably do more damage anyway, especially with heavy attacks. That is the most damage of a melee weapon in the game, is a two-handed heavy attack. And another thing, too, is for survivability and for the teammate survivability, because Mia is probably the survivor in the game most susceptible to getting possessed and killing her teammates. I've done it many a times with one-handed weapons. I'm sure most of you have, too. But you put a machete in her hands, especially with that mastery, you get possessed, the demon now has that mastery, he can stun lock your teammates to death very, very quickly and wipe the team within a matter of seconds. Now, with a two-handed build, one thing, your attacks are going to be slower. That gives your teammates more time to try to dodge out of the way, jump back, get some shots on you. They're not going to get stun locked and die as quickly if you have a two-handed weapon in your hands. So, with this build, I'm thinking of how I could do maximum damage, but at the same time protect my teammates from dying to me, because there's nothing worse in this game than when you get careless and reckless and you kill your whole team in a match that you guys could have won. So, those are a few reasons why I tend to go with the heavy melee attacks instead of the light-handed build. But, again, if you want to run a one-handed build, they're definitely effective. You just got to be a little bit more careful. So coming down here, guys, we have the reduces amount of damage you receive, the Tougher Than Hell. Now, you could have went Reinforced Amulet if you want. However, this is at all times, whether you have amulets on or not. And with Mia, you're going to be taking more damage than most warriors, probably, because this build is a little bit of a glass cannon. So you're not always going to have an amulet attached to you. So I like to have that universal damage reduction to Mia. 10%, it's better than nothing. It helps out. Coming down here, we're kind of just bridging across, guys. 100% health, you get a 5% extra damage. You can go up here, but I'm sure most of you don't really expect to be under 30% health, more than being at 100% health, so I just kind of go down here just to bridge over. It really doesn't make a difference. Now, coming over here, Stunning Strikes, we're going to go 15% extra balance bar damage for heavy melee attacks. Like I said, with this Mia, very rarely will we ever be using a light melee attack unless we absolutely have to. If we have a teammate possessed, we need to try to get him out of that possession really quickly. Sure, we'll go some lights, but with this build, we're focused all heavies. We are utilizing Blood Rain as much as humanly possible. And coming down here, guys, this is where you can kind of swap back and forth between these two right here. If you want to go one-handed, you can simply max out this. The one-handed Weapon Master. If you want to go two-handed, you can max out this. And honestly, if you want to do maximum damage with a one-handed weapon, it's as simple as just taking 2 off of this and putting them on there. That's really all you have to do. And then you'll be set up for a one-handed build. That is really, honestly, the only difference. So I have dabbled with this. Sometimes I'll get in the mood where I want to use some one-handed weapons. You know, the machete, you know, have some fun with her mastery. hand axes, knives, things like that, just to kind of mess around, and I'll switch it over to one-handed. But this is a two-handed build. And I want to talk about a few things. I know a lot of people have gotten tons of damage with their warriors as well. I know they've gotten more damage than I have. But I feel like this build is set up perfectly for a few things. For somewhat survivability, for possession, so you're not killing your teammates, for doing maximum damage in battle, and also being set up for balance bar at the book. And again, guys, like I said, it does take a little bit of practice to play Mia. If you're going to run this build, you want to try to be halfway decent at not taking a lot of damage, because you don't want to be responsible for being severely hurt the whole match and having your support just burning their shemps on you to keep you alive. So you want to try to help yourself a little bit. You want to try to find them amulets, max out the shields, things like that, to help, to help your support out a little bit too, so they don't have to blow shemps on you. And that takes me also into Pink F's, guys, our Pink F upgrades. First things first, when I upgrade Mia, first thing when I get Pink F's, I go straight into stamina, because you want to get them you want to get that extra dodge and that extra stamina as quickly as possible, as soon as you start the match. I want to have that ready to go in case the demon finds us early. I can get out of there if I need to. Second thing, it kind of differentiates between melee and shield. Now, you can go back and forth with melee and shield if you like. However, if the demon is aggressive, say it's a puppeteer, they're coming in early, they're low level 2 or 3, coming down, they already found us, they power possess us, I'm going into melee. Off the bat, I'm going into melee, because I want to be able to maximize that melee damage as quickly as possible. So, if it's a super aggressive early demon, I'll usually spec into melee on the Pink F tree. If they're kind of laid back, leveling up, things like that, we're finding some Pink Fs, I'll spec into shield first, and then go melee. It just depends on the situation. Or, you can kind of rotate back and forth between melee and shield, however you want to do it. But the end goal is to obviously get your shield and melee and stamina completely maxed in the Pink F tree. You want everything maxed, honestly. You want then we start working into health a little bit too. You want to get that health maxed out. That extra 4 on that health as well. So, there's a lot to unpack with this Mia, guys. It's not overly hard to use. She does have a little bit more of a skill gap than the other warriors, I feel, because you have to be careful with her. But with this build, you don't have to be as careful. But you still have to be careful, because if you have a really good, say, legendary lumberjack axe, and you get possessed, you better damn sure hope that your teammates do not get hit with a heavy attack. Because they're going to take that heavy attack, they're going to take the bleed damage and all that stuff, and they're going to die. So, but I just wanted to make this video, guys, because I had a lot of people asking me on one of my recent, I think it was 170k video that I did with Mia, what exactly my build was. And again, that was with no added melee benefits. I've had very close to 200k several times with no, added benefits from, leaders or blacksmith or anything like that, bumping up the damage numbers or anything like that for the match. But yeah, if you want to do some raw, nasty damage with Mia and have fun slaying the shit out of Deadites, this is the build for you. And I also want to mention, guys, you're not going to get insane damage numbers every single game. It comes down to how the demon's playing as well. If the demon's not spawning anything, or hardly spawning anything for the whole match, and you have nothing to kill, obviously you're not going to output as much damage. But you're looking for them super aggressive demons like the warlords. They're meat bags, man. You can do some crazy damage to those guys. Even Plaguebringer units, you can do massive damage to any class, but it relies on the demon, to be somewhat good too, and spawning you tons of enemies to work with. But with that said, guys, I know that was a lot to unpack, but it's really not that difficult. I wanted to go, and I wanted to mention also, if you're not P5, you're only P1, what you can do to take some of these, because you're not going to have 5 extra skill points like I do, what I would recommend is either now you're gonna go a little bit squishier. If you want to keep the maximized damage, you're going to go a little bit squishier. You can take 2 or even all of these out of Industrial Strength. You can take some out of Tougher Than Hell. Honestly, if you don't have 10 in Tougher Than Hell, I wouldn't even, go the 5. I would just keep it at 3, because the extra skill point for 2% is not a big difference. So you could even take 2 out of Tougher Than Hell. You could take 2 out of stunning strikes. It's entirely up to you, essentially, how you want to work with your 25 build. But either way, if you keep something similar to this, you're going to do a ton of damage with Mia. But like I said, guys, pretty simple. Get in and out of battle. Know when you have to get out of battle. Don't just stand there and fight a possessed unit. You know, if you're getting crushed by it and taking tons of damage, you know, get out of there. Because just because she can do a lot of damage doesn't mean she can take a lot of damage. So, with that said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you try the build, please feel free to let me know what you thought of it. Down below, that's our Prestige 5 Mia build. Ladies and gentlemen, she is my main character in this game. I'll probably never change this build again unless the meta changes. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. My name's Sergeant Moose. If you did, please feel free to drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next video.